Well, I want to thank you again for coming. I'll let you introduce yourself, but for those who don't know, your name is Mike Fernie, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're the head of social video for DriveTribe, I believe is your official title.
It has slightly changed, so I'm now just head of video. So
Head
the
of
social
video.
bit's gone, but yeah, just
Okay,
head of
so
video.
a lonesome title then, just video, you and video, that's it.
Exactly.
Something like that. But I was thinking it's actually quite a ironic day to be doing this since they did just announce the trailer for the new Grand Tour episode.
Yes, exactly. It looks good, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, something somewhere new, which is hard to do now with all the countries they've been to. So,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, well, why don't you begin if you're okay with just explaining how you came to work for DriveTribe, what you do at DriveTribe, and maybe a little bit about FoodTribe, as I know there's a correlation there, but for some they might not realize that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, my name's Mike Fernie. I'm head of video at DriveTribe, and I started off actually as a mechanical engineer. I studied engineering at uni, and I kind of got midway through and had a really bad breakup. And I basically was like, right, I need to make myself happy. How do I make myself happy? And driving cars was basically top of the list. So I was like, how am I going to do that? Either become a racing driver or become a motoring journalist. And at the age of 21, the chances of you dropping into a racing car and being quick are pretty slim. So I was like, okay, I can write a bit. I've got some technical knowledge. Let's give this writing a go. So I started writing technical explainer articles about how stuff on cars work. And I got picked up by a company called Car Throttle, who are quite big here in the UK, and I think they have a big US audience as well. And yeah, so I started freelancing for them, doing engineering articles for them. And DriveTribe came along, and at the start of DriveTribe, it very much modeled itself off of Car Throttle in terms of what they were doing, basically trying to make a social media for petrolheads, for car people. And they saw what I was doing on Car Throttle and thought, let's give this guy a punt. So I got a Twitter direct message from the head of content at the time saying, hey, Michael, we've seen the stuff you've been doing on Car Throttle. Would you like to come to DriveTribe? And I was just coming out uni, and it was headed by Clarkson, Hammond and May, and a whole load of other big names in the industry. And I was like, okay, this looks like the call. Let's go for it. Moved down to London, joined DriveTribe, and that's been it, really. I started off as a writer, and slowly but surely kind of realized that writing gets you so far, but video just takes you to like another level. So whenever there was an opportunity that came up for video, I was going to grab it with both hands and see where it went. An opportunity came up, which you have to go quite far back on the DriveTribe YouTube channel now, but it was a Group C Jaguar, Le Mans Racing Jaguar that I did a video on. That's my first ever bit of video content for DriveTribe, which I look back at and cringe because I'm being far too serious. But yeah, it started there and sort of never looked back since then.
Well, that's awesome. And it's a good point too. You don't always have to do what you study, I guess, in college or university. And I'm sure your offer with DriveTribe would have been what they call, I think it's called a life regret if you don't take something like that. So probably for the
Yeah,
best.
and I think like when I actually chat to my university friends, the fellow engineers, when we sort of have a sort of mini reunion or you meet up with someone after a couple of years from my course, they the people that everyone talks about from the year as having done well are the people that have gone on and done like crazy stuff. So there's a guy in my year who is now a jet pilot, but like that's so much cooler than someone that's gone on to do something in oil and gas or something quite sort of not obvious, but very sort of formulaic from university course. So yeah, absolutely. You can study, and to be honest, an engineering degree has really helped me. It helps you in the car industry. That kind of thing helps you stand out to everyone else, just having that kind of academic knowledge on the subject. But yeah, I've very much moved away from engineering, and as you say, I think it was definitely the right call.
Oh, I absolutely think so. You have that technical side, but then you've diversified the typical, like you said, engineering image of what it can be, and you've expanded that for sure. So, going off of that, I know we mentioned it before. FoodTribe, how has that impacted it? Because cars and food, I mean, I always hear cars and watches, and I have something on that later. But cars and food are pretty diverse.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, when we built DriveTribe, what we were also doing was creating basically tech, creating a platform that you could plug and play with different what we call verticals or subjects. So we built DriveTribe, which is obviously about cars, anything that has a motor of some sort. Um, and we built that tech knowing that in future we could move to other areas. And there's so many areas. I mean, not pinpointing any for any reason, but pets is massive. Beauty is massive. Music is massive, and food. Food is just one of the most relatable subjects out there. So when we came to, we built DriveTribe and it was really going really well, nice and sustainable as a platform. I was like, okay, where do we go next? And food was basically the obvious answer. So FoodTribe started, and also the trio, the founders, are mad into their food. So it was a really simple thing to do, and weirdly, like they're almost now, it's kind of refreshing for them to create food content. They almost prefer making food content for us than they do car content, which has been a real revelation. So yeah, FoodTribe is essentially DriveTribe but for food. It's a social media platform based around food for people to share all their experiences, and who knows what will come after that. I personally want to do sport, but there's quite a few sort of platforms for that kind of thing. But who knows?
No, absolutely. And I'm sure it is refreshing to reinvent yourself after being cast in one role for your whole career, like the trio have with cars. And I mean, I saw how the reactions were when they did the Seaman episode, and it was so crazy that they were even in boats and not a car. So I'm sure it is refreshing to find a new niche to pursue after all those years. Like I said, I always thought it would be neat to do a watch tribe. I think there's a big correlation there, and I'm part of DriveTribe, obviously the app, and there's a big group having to do with watches. And I know James, I believe, is a collector himself in many ways. He always has something new dazzling on the wrist.
Well, I actually very recently got in trouble because we borrowed one of his watches for a little promotion thing we were doing, and I forgot to give it back for about 3 months. And it was it was one of May's favorite watches, and I'm giving it back to him now. But yeah, he wasn't very happy how long I mean, I took care of it. It came back undamaged, but to me, I mean, I'm not massively into my watches. I like a nice watch, but May is on another level. So I didn't think this thing was massively precious, but apparently so. But we're all good now.
Oh, well, that's good. Between Clarkson's Alpha and May's watch, you just have something with Hammond now.
That's weirdly, that was just like an off the cuff bit of content, but it has now become the thing that I get asked about most whenever we're out filming or we're at an event and someone who watches DriveTribe comes up. The first question is, what was Clarkson like about the Alfa Romeo?
Well,
but no, it was absolutely fine.
I'll try and shy away from that one. I think you've answered that one enough for now.
Well, I mean, I can quickly say, basically, everyone's like, was he really angry? The answer is no. He was totally cool. He just didn't want people driving his car. That's basically it.
Yeah, like any normal, reasonable person, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. Like any petrol head. Yeah.
Fair assumption. Going back to you though, personally, growing up and in your adult life, how did Top Gear Grand Tour and their host influence your life? Obviously, you joined for a reason, DriveTribe. What led up to that?
Yeah, so I got into cars through my dad. He restores classic cars as a hobby, basically. He had an MGC GT from when I was a kid and still has it. So he used to take me to car shows from when I was very young, 3 or 4 years old. So I kind of grew up in the classic car world. And then I would say once I got to the age of about 12 or 13, this channel on British TV called Dave suddenly came to light. And basically they took old BBC content and regurgitated it And it obviously became really popular because half of the time they'd show Top Gear, reruns of Top Gear. So I actually didn't come across Top Gear on BBC. I only ever came across it on this regurgitating channel. And watching those guys, I would say it must have been from like series 4 or 5 onwards. That is what got me into modern performance cars, because my dad isn't really into that, and that kind of seeped into me. But now seeing Clarkson, Hammond and May on these, I mean, the first thing I probably came across was, do you know the supercar road trip down to the south of France where Hammond's in a orange Zonda,
Oh yeah.
May's in a 430, and Clarkson's in a Ford GT. It might actually be his Ford GT, and they go down to the south of France to that big bridge. I think that's probably about the time where I came into Top Gear, and I was just obsessed from then on. And just when I left uni, so actually during uni was when they shifted from BBC to Grand Tour,
Yeah.
which I actually wrote about. I did a blog back in the day, before I got a job anywhere. I did a blog specifically about what's happened to Top Gear. And yeah, so this opportunity came up, and it was essentially like work with your heroes from the car industry. And I was like, yep, I'll do that. So yeah, I'm one of these guys who, if you show me an old Top Gear episode, I can pretty much recite the script back to you. But there's so many people like that, and there's so many people way more obsessed than I am. So I'm not going to say I'm some fanboy, but yeah, I was very much into the Top Gear stuff back in the day.
I think DriveTribe has shown there's a lot larger of a community than was previously thought. I know that word community, but there's a big following. There's a lot of people who love it, and they live and breathe cars, and they've kind of followed those three through their lives, and they've kind of paved the way for a lot of people into the world of cars. And most of us can never even dream of owning a Zonda or a Ford GT, or some not even something less. But I mean, I drive a Corolla. I know it's the swear word, but it's okay. Is it still surreal though, seeing them at work? Just you ever just sit there and look at them and go, wow, I work for you?
Yeah, it does get a bit mental sometimes. Like, I remember the first time meeting each of them. It was never at once. It was one after the other. And like this person walks in the room, and you just look at them and you're like, oh my God, that's that person. And then to be honest, the thing that really hammers it home is the voice. Like they speak, and it's that voice that said all those epic lines that you know from back in the day. And you're like, holy crap, that is him. And just like each one of them just brings this presence into a room, especially Clarkson. I think that's just like a sheer physical thing. Like the guy is huge. He's 6'5". His hands are like twice the size of mine. His head, it's just everything about him. It's just, he's a giant. So he comes into a room and it's just like, whoa, who is this guy? So yeah, meeting them for the first time was really cool. But I will say, after 10 or more, 15, 20 times of filming with them, like it does naturally wear off. So you start becoming friendly with them, they get to know you, and you just start chatting after a while. And before long, you wouldn't just say they're just a colleague, but you do relax around them. It takes a while, but I would say just by contact time, like I'm relaxed chatting to May, Hammond as well. Like we've been filming with him quite a lot recently, and Clarkson getting there. But yeah, we'll probably take a few more filming events to get that over the line. But yeah, it is still mental. So sometimes I look back at my phone, what I've taken pictures of. For example, today we were filming with May today, and some of the footage I've got on my phone, I'll look at and be like, how am I getting paid for this? This is ridiculous. But my mantra is that someone's got to do it, so why not make it you? It's a job. It's not volunteering or anything. Like, it is a legit job, and someone's got to do it. So why not throw yourself into those shoes and just give it a go?
I'm sure it's surreal just to have a contact in your phone with their names that, like, wow, I can text them. That's pretty cool.
True. It's up. Well, it's also a very dangerous thing.
Yeah.
You know, you're flicking past. You're not meaning to get in contact with them. You're looking for someone else in your contacts, and James May flicks past, and you're like, oh Jesus.
Yeah. Don't butt dial him or anything.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. At 2 a.m. or something like that.
Yeah, probably not the best. I will say though, even from your videos that you made, when you guys did Legos, you and James, building the Lego Porsches and fixing your train, you can tell that it's become a lot more comfortable for him to be around and doing that stuff too, because it's not as
Yeah.
scripted as maybe the Grand Tour or Top Gear was, and you can tell he's comfortable.
Yeah, I think it really helps that we have quite a lot in common. Like we're into a lot of the same stuff: model trains, cars, model cars, um, instruments. He's very musical, and I play sort of traditional Scottish instruments as well that you know he has an interest in. And yeah, we're just kind of on a similar wavelength. So once you just spend time with someone like that, it almost doesn't matter who they are. Like you just end up chilling out and chatting away. So yeah, I look back at the Lego and the model train one. I prefer the model train one. Although the Lego one is cool. And yeah, it does just seem like people ask me what May is like, and I'm like, oh, he's just like your friendly uncle that you meet up at your family Christmas and you want to talk to. Like once you've had your dinner and once things have settled down in the evening, he's the person that you want to be on the chair beside to like spend the rest of the evening just chatting about interesting things.
Yeah.
But which is a nice place to be in, you know.
You can see he genuinely cares too about heritage, and like it was your toy train, and he's not just it's a train, like he's very careful. And I mean, the guy smokes a pipe. I mean, how more comfortable can you get talking with somebody smoking a pipe? I mean,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think the backstory of that train really kind of made him really hone in on doing a good job on that train, and he has. I've recently given it back to my dad because it was his train originally, and it works. It works really well. It's gone from something that was just completely choked up with rubbish, and now fully refurbished. So yeah, he did a really good job on that, and I think you know the backstory of that train kind of got under his skin. So yeah, he really concentrated on that one.
well, that's pretty cool. Now, I would be going amiss if I didn't bring up. So this channel, I'm creating it around cars, the Grand Tour, Top Gear, but I also, James Bond is a personal passion of mine. And I know, especially Clarkson, he's a big Bond fan. I think he has his watch. Might be wrong about that. But is that something in your life that's being British that's been present or no? I know for some, I have a lot of friends there. Some, they're like, James Bond, who cares? But others are very involved. And
No, I think it's definitely a cornerstone of it was an icon, really. I think being Scottish, it's kind of James Bond himself has quite a big connection to Scotland. One through Sean Connery, and two through the whole Skyfall backstory. There's one. Well, you've almost certainly seen it. There's one lay-by on a Highland road. It's in a place called Glenetiv, and it's where Daniel Craig and M are standing with the DB5, you know,
yeah,
on the way to Skyfall. That bit that you pull into on the side of the road is just destroyed now. Like it
is
used to
it?
be really nice grass and heather and this really picturesque Scottish glen, but there's been so many people that now stop and get that picture of them looking down the glen that the bit it's just been absolutely wrecked. So yeah, I'm a big Bond fan. I'll always switch it on when it's on TV. I think as a kid, I didn't really get the Pierce. I grew up during the Pierce Brosnan stuff, and I didn't really get that. I just thought it was a bit camp and not that great. And so some people love it. I think people just a bit older than me. So I'm 26. I think people like just into their 30s. That is what they love because it's kind of what they grew up with. I was just a bit too young during Pierce Brosnan, so Daniel Craig like revolutionized Bond for me because he made it properly cool and like hardcore. I still think Casino Royale is a fantastic movie. And then it went a bit wishy-washy after that. Skyfall, I'd say, yeah, for me it's between Casino Royale and Skyfall. Just because
Agreed.
Casino Royale is like brutal. Like that opening scene when he gets his like first kill, and then when he's fighting that guy in the stairwell, and then I've forgotten, does he suffocate him with his tie or something? Like it's
Yeah.
really some brutal scenes in that when he nearly dies and goes out to the DBS and like has to plug it in, and it's like properly great. And the whole poker thing, I really like that. And I think the only reason Skyfall might take it is because of that second half of the movie once they're traveling up into Scotland.
Yeah.
Bond really does it for me, and I'm buzzing for this next one. I wasn't a big fan of Spectre, but we'll see how this next one goes.
I agree. Me and a friend actually went to the Museum of Modern Art right before COVID started, and Daniel Craig was there in person announcing his Bond. I forget what it was called. The Museum of Modern Art was showing all of his Bond ones, and he was there, him and Barbara Broccoli. So we got to sing happy birthday to him. It was a bit surreal. We were in the front row. It was
Cool.
$5. It was crazy, but that was pretty neat. But I agree with you. I'm 24, so I grew up with Craig too. And from Die Another Day, I mean, no offense to Pierce, he took on the role and he did it, but a long ways from CGI, iceberg surfing, parasailing, invisible cars to that rugged Bond. So they're entertaining, and people are very opinionated. It's not everybody likes them all the same. I mean, people really get into it, and
it was some of the Pierce Brosnan lines. It was some of the like one-liners where you were just like, they were just taking the piss with something like just awful. But to be honest, I did. We were filming up at Jaguar HQ a couple of weeks ago, and they wheeled out the Die Another Day XKR with the missiles on the back of it and the missiles in the grill and the machine gun
the
on the back.
Yeah.
And that looked amazing. But then you kind of think of where it was in the movie and what it was doing, and you're like, Although to be fair, I think my favorite Aston is that Vanquish. So I guess I got to give them credit for that. But yeah, otherwise, not my cup of tea.
I agree with you on the Aston. Everybody always says it's horrible to drive. It's unreliable. It's like, well, one, you don't buy a used Aston expecting it to be a Toyota, and two, they're, dare I say, affordable? Not really, but they're dropping in price where somebody could think of buying one eventually, maybe. But
yeah, absolutely. I think I would get a manual conversion done, which is like one of the most popular things happening on those cars. But I think if I had a dream garage, I do think a Vanquish would be in there.
Oh yeah, I am. Speaking of that, just quick, I see Harry Metcalf just did one of the. Is it Ian Callum did it?
Yes.
My goodness, the price though, a lot for a transmission.
Pretty brutal. That's an interesting one. I obviously for the Scottish connection, I am like obsessed with Ian Callum. I think he's designed like the prettiest cars of all time. And I've been like following the production of that car for so long, and for some reason they basically won't let us drive it. I don't really know why. I don't know whether they think I'm just too young and too expensive a car, hence why Harry Metcalf gets it. But yeah,
he makes it look easy. So
yeah, true.
And then speaking of cars, I know you have your Mondeo and a Miata, I believe. Do you want to talk a little about that and what you plan to do?
Yeah, so I've got my Mondeo ST, which I think in America is it called the Contour SVT, I think.
Okay.
The V6 Mondeo. That is actually about to be fully restored starting from Monday. I'm shipping it up to a Ford specialist, and that's getting a nut and bolt restoration. And then, yes, I've also, back up in Scotland, I've got a 1998 Mark II MX-5. And that was my kind of like project car at uni to learn how to weld and just like tinker with, because it's quite a simple car all round. And I think if the Mondeo restoration series goes well, because we've never really done that sort of thing with our audience before, and it's quite a hardcore petrol head thing, which we have some hardcore petrol heads, but we also have to keep things quite general because we've inherited the Top Gear audience who are used to that kind of like not too nerdy stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll see how the Mondeo series goes, and if it does go well, then the MX-5 is ripe to be the next thing that we go to town with. So it's currently up in Scotland, but yeah, who knows? I might bring that down here and do something with that as well.
Well, that'll be fun. Have you had the Mondeo a while?
I've had it since my 4th year at uni, so 2016, I think. So 4 years, and I love it. There's something about I wouldn't call them super saloons, but like medium to hot saloons. I guess like hot hatch, hot saloon. Just like a saloon with like a big engine in it, not crazy power, but enough to, beat most cars, not 60. There's just something about that that's quite like stealthy, and they always have cool body kits. So yeah, I really like that car. And what I'm in this restoration is supposed to be 4 months long. I should end up with an absolute minter, and I'm kind of stuck with what to do with it then, because I've never had a car that nice. It's always been basically rolling repairs the whole time. So I'm gonna have this stunning Mondeo, and I don't know whether I just won't want to drive it, or yeah, I don't know. We'll see when we get to it.
I totally get that. We just bought, I said, a Corolla, a new one, and until that, we had some pretty old cars. Like my heater core went on my girlfriend 2 hours from home in upstate New York, all orange, fishy antifreeze pouring into the car. And it's weird when you can go 100 miles and just be like, wow, I just turned it on and I made it. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. All right, well, this inevitable, but can you share maybe a favorite moment with each of the trio? One with each of them. I know you do a lot with James, and I know you said it's getting more comfortable with Jeremy, but anything that stands out?
Good question. I think we'll start with me. I think one that stands out is when the train first started moving, because it did take us a few attempts, but when he switched that dial and that train started moving along the track, that was pretty epic. With Hammond, it's something that happened off camera, like just before we started rolling, filming him in the office, just doing a little Q&A thing. We just basically started chatting about the Jags that he's got. I'm a big Jag man, and he had just bought 2 classic Jags, an XK120 and an XK150, which have been featured on the channel. And basically we had a 20-minute natter chit chat about these Jags, and I think one thing with these guys is, they are used to meeting a lot of people, and I think what really helps to establish a relationship with these guys, a working relationship, is just basically making them understand that you are into what they're into. So the second I start asking questions about his Jag, is it the 4-speed Moss gearbox, or is it a 5-speed? Are you going to do this to it? Are you going to do that? What liter is your XK6 engine? Like the second there's like keywords there where he's like, oh, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. And suddenly the shoulders drop, you relax, and suddenly you're just having this like epic little chat with Richard Hammond. So I would say that was probably my favorite moment with him so far. And then with Clarkson, I mean,
I know that's a little rough. Sorry.
I've only met him 3 times. One was like, a mass office meetup. So I think I would have to go to the Alfa Romeo day, and it would be our chat after the car had been moved back to Jeremy's house, because then basically we didn't want to not film with the car. So I was like, how do I rescue this situation? So after we'd done the farm shop tour for the FoodTribe channel, I thought, right, before he hops into his Range Rover, I'm just going to basically apologize, make sure like we're all good, and at the same time ask him, can we film? How can we film with the car? Just tell us what gets the green light for us to film your car. And basically me and him had like just a quick chat about how we could do it, and the decision was just like put it somewhere in his sort of farmyard and just static, basically do a walk around, which is what we ended up doing. So just like that little chit chat that just like cleared the air, and I feel that he would have thought he probably would have completely forgotten about the whole situation and about me if I'd just left it and we'd headed home, and the only thing he knew about me was that I drove his Alpha when I shouldn't have. So the fact that I not confronted him, but just like went to clear the air and sort out the day's shoot, I feel like that was a good move, and hopefully will have sort of gained some sort of respect with him. So yeah, I think that would be my Clarkson moment.
Okay. Well, and maybe he'll get more involved as it goes on a bit more. And
yeah, obviously they're crazy busy with Grand Tour stuff. They were in Madagascar, and then they're recently been filming as well. So yeah, they've been absolutely flat out. So it ebbs and flows depending on how much time. They're such busy guys. So yeah, whenever we get the time, we grab it with both hands and make the most of it.
absolutely. And you guys do a good job of incorporating other things too. That's not just them. I mean, obviously they're a focal point for why people tune in, but it's not just them that draws people in. You guys do a good job of diversifying.
Yeah, I think that's my kind of main job. Like it's almost it's easy when you've got time with those three guys, because you can basically film anything and the audience is going to love it.
Yeah.
The real challenge is moving away from those three guys, because we can't be 100% dependent on them. We have to stand on our own 2 feet. So that's by far the most challenging thing. But I think we've got a decent rhythm now of just filming cool car stuff that is just entertaining. And it's taken a while, and there's been some rough moments where the audience is like, why isn't this Clarkson, Hammond or May? And it's like, well, they're filming halfway around the world, so we need to do something else. But I think we've gotten a place where the audience is like chill now, and they're happy to watch a video that is just cool car content rather than something with Clarkson, Hammond and May. So yeah, it's about finding that balance now. And to be honest, the further we can get it away from the three guys, the better from our side. Obviously, we want to give the audience what they want to see, but while they're away filming, if we know we can be confident to just go out and film something ourselves and be self-sufficient, then that's kind of the perfect world to be in.
Absolutely. And I think if anything COVID has brought about that's positive is there's been some interesting things that James has done. I mean, I've never seen a video get over 100,000 views where he's mending some bicycle brakes. I mean, the comments are like infatuated with it. And it is true. I mean, you'd watch him paint a wall and watch it and commentate it, and it's interesting somehow.
Yeah, he's just an interesting guy. He's almost like it's almost like he commentates. He can basically commentate on anything, and people will watch it. He's just got one of those voices and one of those brains that he can come up with anecdotes and just facts and things to say about anything that is interesting. You could literally just this could be a content idea. You could literally sit him at a table and just hand him objects. Yeah. And he'd have something to say about them, Exactly. So yeah, we're so lucky with that, because yeah, you can basically do anything with him and it'll get views. So he's almost like the perfect content provider.
Absolutely. On James's note, part of this channel, I'm trying, because like him, I genuinely can't cook a thing. I mean, nothing. So I ordered his cookbook, and once a week I'm going to try to make one of his recipes and see how it goes. It better be easy, because my wife's pretty sick of Honey Nut Cheerios and beans and hot dogs and spaghetti. So we're going to try a few new things to intermingle it, but we'll give it a shot.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Absolutely.
Yeah, you got to make it away from cars too, but I'll let you go after this. But I was just wondering, is there anything in the future that's exciting that you can hint to or mention? I know this isn't really the right time to have much concrete plans.
Well, the good thing about what's happening in the UK right now, we are in lockdown, but there are regulations for filming. In our first lockdown, there weren't. So it was like, can't we film? Well, now it is a UK lockdown, but we can go out and film, basically, if we're being sensible. So we have actually got loads of content coming that's Clarkson, Hammond and May based and non-Clarkson, Hammond and May based. And we always need to start stockpiling before Christmas and into New Year, because everyone goes home and you need to have basically a bank of content. So we have filmed lots of stuff. What can I say?
Take your time. I don't want to get you in any more trouble.
Lots, a balance between DriveTribe and FoodTribe. Actually, yeah, I can talk about the stuff that I've been doing. We've got not too long after basically the whole coronavirus thing started, I did a video about a V10 sports car, a 2-liter V10 sports car that went missing in 2004. It was about to be launched in Wales, of all places, and it just never saw the light of day. So I posted about it. Such an interesting car, and all the audience was like, "You have to find this car. It's called a Connaught Type D," and they were like, "You have to find it." So I put my detective hat on and basically tried to find this car, and we have found it. So very soon, that content will be coming out. Well, it kind of depends when you put this video out. It might already be out. Tonight, day of filming, we're putting out a video about an Aston Martin V600, which is a crazy thing. It's a 600 horsepower twin supercharged V8 Aston Martin from it was the most powerful car you could buy new in 1998. Amazing thing. We had it insured for like £500,000. It was a crazy car. So that's going out tonight. I can't talk about the Clarkson, Hammond and May stuff. Actually, no. What I can say, we've got how many? We've got 3 Hammond videos coming, and we've got I would say about the same James May films coming. There you go. You can have that.
Okay. Well, that's good. The V600, isn't there a Le Mans edition of that?
Yes, it was that.
Yeah, that one.
V600
Okay.
Le Mans. Yeah.
There's one for sale here in Florida for crazy money. And
yeah. I think there was only 40 made. So like, yeah, they're
yeah,
pretty...
so that explains it.
Yeah.
Yeah, about the same as a Corolla, right? There's about 40 of those. Million maybe, but
yeah. It was a really cool car. Just like the thickest leather I think I've ever sat in, and this huge engine. Well, to be fair, it's only, I think it was 5.3 liters, but just with a supercharger on either bank, with these huge belts on it, just like it was essentially an American muscle car with a British interior. That's basically what it was.
And it came like that from Aston?
Yeah, so they built there was the Vantage V550, which took the 5.3. The 5.3 was naturally aspirated, and then they put the twin superchargers on it. So the V550 was obviously 550 horsepower, and then they tweaked with the superchargers and got 600. But the amazing thing about that car works is idle to, I think, 4,000 RPM, it's naturally aspirated. The superchargers are shut off. And then you brake past 4,000 and it just opens. Like fully, like the butterfly valves go from closed to 90 degrees, like straight open.
Wow.
So you have just instant full boost. So the amount of these cars that got binned back in the day, because a guy would be mid-corner and they'd be thinking, oh, this doesn't do much, because naturally aspirated, it only has about 350 horsepower. And then those valves would open, back goes round. So they're pretty vicious things to drive. Like that classic 90s turbocharging, it's all about turbo lag. And even with a supercharger, which you'd think, oh, you'd get really linear power from that. No, these things just absolutely rip open. So yeah, a fascinating thing.
I wonder how many are left of the original 40.
Oh God, yeah,
4.
Probably not a lot. I think Sultan of Brunei has got, I think, 5 of the 40, which obviously just sit gathering dust. But yeah, I think that this one is it might actually be the only one for sale in the UK. It belonged to Aston Martin, but they're looking to sell it, so they very kindly gave it to us for the day. So yeah, that video will absolutely be out before this gets published, so you can go and watch that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and I see James's pub. I really would like to visit that when we come. I like that. That's one of my personal dreams, to own one day too. There is something satisfying about making it how you want, and he did a good
Yeah,
job
yeah.
with it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a nice place. That was a cool video we did,
yeah,
and it's doing pretty well. Yeah, I think people, the one thing people really enjoy is the guys, the trio buying stuff. Cars, pubs, and actually James told me about something today that he's bought that we should definitely do a video on as well. I'll need to chat to him about that. But yeah, just like really interesting stuff that these guys buy and people love watching it. So yeah, a pub. Right, he just announced it one day. He sent so my boss is called Lucy. He just sent her a text being like, by the way, I've bought half a pub. Do you want to come film it? And I'm like, yeah, sure.
yeah.
So yeah, that's really cool. And yeah, you should absolutely come over to the UK and check it out.
Oh,
It'll be completely booked out once the lockdown ends. But yeah, after that, definitely come.
I'm sure. I've been planning a year and a half. I was trying to go to the new Bond premiere to, if you wait
Oh, right.
around long enough, you can maybe get the tickets that don't sell. And probably not, but I just need to be there at the time. So I was planning on
Okay.
going to his pub.
So if you're like a proper Bond fan, then what is who's your favorite Bond, and what's your favorite Bond film? Was it Casino Royale, or is that just your favorite of like the modern one?
I would say Casino Royale is my personal favorite, and Craig in turn is my favorite Bond. But I think, like you said, it's because of the generational thing and what
Sure.
you're brought up with. That DBS when it first started. I mean, it wasn't even a car when Casino Royale came out. Technically, they were prototypes because it wasn't released till the following year.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
It was actually an '07 car, but they built them just for the movie. And I mean,
Ah,
how can you hate that when you hear that start up and he walks out to it? I think it's in Montenegro, but it was actually Czech
yeah,
Republic.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's that sick bit where um he's chasing the bad guys in the Jag XJ, and yeah, he like
Yeah.
runs into the car park, and then like there's a burnout in the DBS out
Oh,
of the car
yeah.
park space. So cool.
Oh, it's just, I mean, it's movie editing too, a lot of it, but it's just some of those little moments. Like, don't you wish your boss would just hand you an envelope with a glass key to an Aston? I mean,
But let's not forget, there's a Ford Mondeo in that film.
there is.
Right at the start, when he's
Yeah.
going to that resort, he's in what looks like
Bahamas.
a rental Ford Mondeo. But yeah, really, really cool film. I'll watch that when I go home actually for Christmas, because yeah, but I think people think it's maybe not their favorite because it's not too eventful, but I don't feel like it's about that. The whole poker game thing is it's really cool.
It was very cool. They brought the gadgets back down to believable. Well, there were none
Yeah.
really, so we'll see
Although
how the new one.
there is something really satisfying about that bit in Skyfall when he's got the little radio and
Yeah.
he he triggers it and then he just holds up and goes radio, and it's like this tiny little tidbit.
Very cool. Yeah, and the watch inspector when it blows up. I'm glad he took it literally when he said the alarm was loud. I just would have thought it was a guaranteed wake up, not a bomb, but at least he figured it out.
Yeah, and to be fair, one of my favorite cars of all time is a Jaguar CX-75. So the fact that made it into Spectre, have to give them some credit for that. But
I don't know
one of
why
the
they
biggest
never
fans
made
of the
it.
movie. Well, I mean, Jag have never been that financially well off in recent times. So like, it was just a pure concept. But there is one that day that we saw, the Die Another Day car. There is a real, so it's not a Bond stunt car. It's still that orange from the film, but it's a real, Williams F1 engined CX-75 is sitting in the museum. But I've asked them, I was like, so that's sitting there. It's a real car, but how would I be able to, like, how much would that cost to get going again? Because it's quite clearly sat for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, like, probably about 20 grand just to service it. Because, I mean, I think it's a inline four Williams F1 engine, so F1 tech, but inline four. So the tolerances on that are going to be so tight, and you'll need to plug that in, heat it up before you even think about firing the car up. But like 900 horsepower hybrid hypercar that came out 2-3 years before 918 LaFerrari P1, like unreal.
Yeah.
But people think about like the Holy Trinity, but I want to do a video one day. God knows how much it will cost to insure. That's like it should be the holy, what do you call it? Quadrant? I don't even know.
Yeah.
Just like 918, and the thumbnail would be 918 P1 LaFerrari, and then this like blacked out silhouette of a car, and having a question mark above it. So that you introduce the Holy Trinity, and then the Jag turns up, and I bet it would hold its own because 900 horsepower is a bit down, but I mean it's up there with those three.
And it only gets crazier, but I'm sure with those three it would do fine. And then everybody who rushed out to buy the DB10 because it was so limited, and then the new Vantage came out. Same thing.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. 2021, that'll be my aim, to do the Holy Quadrant video. We'll see how that goes.
Oh, keep me posted.
Quartet, of course. Quartet.
Quartet,
That should be what it's called. Yeah.
A little classier. Well, thank you very much, Mike. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this.
No, absolutely. Absolutely no problem. I think, as I said, like for me, the engineering degree, that kind of thing makes you stick out, and putting this sort of graft in to, get in contact with me and sort of this interview, record the video, edit the video, put it out, that kind of graft also just makes you stand out from others. So keep doing what you're doing, and yeah, who knows where this kind of thing takes you.
Well, I appreciate it. And when I'm in London, maybe head to James's pub or something. I'll buy you a pint.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give James a ring because he lives not far from it. See if he wants to come down.
That would make my absolute world. So
here's a question: would you rather meet Daniel Craig for dinner at a pub, or James May?
James, hands down, because I feel like he'd actually talk back and not just look miserable the whole time looking at their free Omega. No, I would love to have dinner at a pub with James. That'd be awesome.
Okay, well, yeah, you never know.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you again, Mike, and stay safe during lockdown.
Absolutely, you too.